give it up one more time. Girl, I was out like 4 minutes from that time. Thank you, Robyn. Thank you so much. Yeah, you did that. Yeah, for sure. So we're gonna get into our Q&A section of the conversation. And the first, we have two amazing community activists, organizers, and culture producers that are going to respond to the talk that Robyn just provided us. The first speaker, Hawa Mire, is a diasporic Somali storyteller, writer, and strategist with more than a decade of experience in high-impact community-based initiatives, as well as the co-editor of Mandik, a collective of young Somali demics from diverse fields who write about the Somali territories and the Somali diaspora. She holds a master's degree in environmental studies from York University, where her research was preoccupied with storytelling as a site of social boundary making, and is currently completing her PhD in anthropology at Carleton University. Please give mad love to Hawa. Up next is Cyrus Marcus Ware. Cyrus Marcus Ware is a Vanier scholar, a visual artist, activist, curator, and educator. Cyrus uses painting, installation, and performance to explore social justice frameworks and Black activist culture. His work has been shown widely, including at the University of Lethbridge Art Gallery of York University, and the Gladstone Hotel. His performance work has been part of festivals across Canada, including at Crippling the Stage, Harbourfront Centre in 2016, Complex Social Change, University of Lethbridge Art Gallery in 2015, and Decolonizing and Decriminalizing Trans Genres, the University of Winnipeg in 2015. He's part of the PDA, Performance Disability Art Collective, and co-programmed Crip Your World, an intergalactic queer people of color, sick and disabled extravaganza as part of Mayworks 2014. He's also part of the Black Triangle Arts Collective, BTAC, a visual arts collective dedicated to exploring disability, racial, and economic justice. Cyrus' recent curatorial projects include That's So Gay, On the Edge, TSG, Fall to Pieces, TSG, Come Together, Gladstone 2016, 15, and 14, Repurpose, Robyn McLaughlin Gallery 2014, and the Church Street Mural Project, Church Wellesley Village 2013. Cyrus is also the co-curator of The Cycle, a 2-year disability arts performance initiative of the National Arts Centre. He's a facilitator and designer at the Banff Centre, and for 12 years was the coordinator of the Arts Gallery of Ontario Youth Program. Cyrus is the inaugural Daniel Spectrum Artist in Residence for 2016 and 2017, and a core team member of Black Lives Matter Toronto. Cyrus is also part of Blackness Yes and Blockorama. And Cyrus was voted Best Queer Activist by Now Magazine in 2005 and was awarded the Steiner and Ferrero Award for LGBT Community Leadership and Activism in 2012. Cyrus is working on a PhD at York University in the Faculty of Environmental Studies. Please give your love and love to Cyrus Ware. I'm gonna take the seat right here. Okay, so to begin this Q&A session, Policing Black Lives is an important and urgent 21st century text that provides a critical overview of Black genealogies that takes us through different manifestations of anti-Black state violence in Canada, from the transatlantic slave trade to present day. It accounts for the ways in which Canadian state is anchored in the violence of settler colonialism, Black racism, and underscored by racial capitalism that is the underlying fabric of Canadian nation-state, which permeates all aspects of Black life. To quote the book, with the power to privilege, punish, confine, or expel at will, Robyn takes us through the ways that the Canadian state and all its extending capillaries work to police Black lives through the demonization, the dehumanization, and the objectification of Black people across a multiplicity of institutions. To be clear, what I'm referring to here is the ways in which the direct relationship between the state and black people is centered on and dependent on white supremacist logics that make blackness both the subject and object of its monstrous desires. And I'm speaking to the work of Sharp in 2010. This includes all levels and branches of Canadian government, government-funded and owned programs, and institutions such as schooling, media, social and child welfare services, healthcare, etc. And the enforcement of all these state institutions through municipal, provincial, and national police structures, both formal and informal, that Robyn talks extensively in her book. Including police state agents such as educators, social workers, healthcare providers, co-workers, and the foot soldiers, who are the everyday surveyors of white supremacy. Commonly, black people refer to these people as the interrupters of everyday black life. We've seen viral videos. They come in the form of Barbecue Becky, Cabbagetown Kathy, Junction John, and Ryerson Rebecca. So many of you may laugh at this, but the reality is that these interactions curtail black life so much that at times they have resulted in lethal outcomes. So focusing on the forms of policing that specifically target black, cis, and trans women, queer, and gender non-conforming folks who experience the harshest manifestations of anti-black violence, Policing Black Lives offers us a contemporary black queer feminist perspective, arguing that centering and focusing the structural harm of these experiences allows us to expand our terrain of the struggle for liberation and form a political consciousness in terms of how we shape and understand it. So, moving to this current political moment, we have experienced a completely disastrous election period, where Doug Ford slashed the numbers of representatives of city council from 47 to 25. Shame, yes. Black and racialized new candidates running to have a chance against the white supremacist and neoliberal political machinery was almost impossible to run. We have seen an attack on black life from cuts and slashes to social services and education, housing, employment, and we've seen an increase in the policing budget to deploy more officers in black neighborhoods, as well as investments in surveillance technology, Spotshotter, in response to what has been the targeting and blaming of black people as, quote, thugs, sewer rats, and cockroaches by our newly re-elected mayor, John Tory, for making Toronto unsafe. Shame indeed. Shame indeed. So I'm going to open up the first question with this in context. Toronto recently elected an 84% white city council. That is 68% men and 86% incumbents. Patrick Brown is the mayor-elect in Brampton. John Tory was re-elected with 63% support, and 25,667 people in Toronto voted for Faith Goldie, who is known to be a neo-Nazi in this election. We are seeing a more brazen form of white supremacy that has been veiled through discourses like multiculturalism, neoliberal responses such as anti-racism, diversity, and inclusion rhetoric here in Canada. So, the questions I want to ask are, what are your thoughts on our current political condition as black people here today? And what impacts do you think this has on all facets of black life in our day-to-day survival here in Ontario, Toronto? And given the data post-elections, can we out-organize white supremacy here in Toronto?